Hi, I'm Catherine and I have a lot of hobbies. So I am going to try to remember everything I made in 2024. That includes crochet mostly, some knitting and a few odds and ends. So yeah, let's get into it. I wrote everything down in my Hobonichi journal, which is really cute. So I will be reading from that today. So in January 2024, which feels like a long time ago now, I started to crochet the year before in 2023, and I decided to make my first wearable. I couldn't find a pattern for a granny square jumper that I quite liked or that I thought would work out, so I tried to sort of mock one up myself. I just used paint to begin with. My initial plans were to have it alternating like a checkered board. Checkered board. Not sure. Anyway, I went with pink and green, which I do like as a colour combo. I'm not sure about these particular shades, but I do like sunburst granny squares, and in the end I decided to do a stripe pattern as that looked better. So I have a stripe of pink, a stripe of green. I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. I used the Valley Yarn Superwash DK weight yarn, which is sort of the yarn I defaulted to a lot last year. One thing I didn't realise about superwash yarn is it seems to grow and stretch quite a lot. Like everything is really heavy and kind of longer than I thought it would be. For example, the sleeves, they used to have another row of granny squares at the end, but they were far too long once I finished putting everything together. So in the end I did detach them and I haven't woven in the new ends, unfortunately. But to be honest, I don't wear it that often. I think I've worn it a couple of times. Again, I think it's the colour combo that I'm not sure about. I do quite like the construction, so maybe I'd make it again in another few colours. It felt like it took a really long time to make, as I think I actually started it in December 2023. So I think it took about 2 months. So yeah, actually some of it's already unraveling as well, as I probably wasn't very good at weaving in ends back then. So I shot some footage of me trying on my wearable pieces. I do like the drape of this jumper, I just wish it was a little bit longer at the back. I suppose that it would be hard to design a traditionally shaped cardigan with granny squares, as you can't really do short rows, for example. So after that, I wanted to do another cardigan. And again, it wasn't following a pattern per se. The granny squares I used in the back and the pocket was a pattern. I got that off Etsy. It's like the sun spiral pattern, which I do really like. Excuse the cat hair. Yes, it did take me quite a while to figure out how to do the pattern though. So I can't say it's straightforward. It could probably be written a little more clearly for people who aren't super advanced at crochet. But yeah, I mean, it turned out well in the end. And I do think the cardigan looks really cool. I think it's sort of a hexagon cardigan if I remember correctly. And I don't know about the shaping on the back, like it's kind of gone a bit weird. To be fair, I didn't know about blocking full garments back then. So it has, the squares were blocked, but not the cardigan itself. So maybe I should try to block the whole cardigan. But again, because it's the same Valley Yarn Superwash DK, I am a bit worried it will get even bigger and saggier. But I guess it's worth a shot. This jumper again is a bit shorter at the back, but you can see the main issue is the bunching around the final granny square. I'm not really confident that it can be fixed, unfortunately. Otherwise, I do like the look of it, and eventually I'd quite like to make a tote bag with the spiral sun granny square, maybe in like purple or blue and yellow. Yeah, something spacey, celestially. I think it's a really cute granny square. So it looks like I was pretty busy that January. I also tried to use polymer clay for the first time, which was pretty fun. I enjoyed cutting out the shapes of everything and designing what jewelry could look like, but I had a real problem when it came to the painting. I think I watched a TikTok at the time of how to make polymer clay jewelry because I really liked the look of the sort of fake porcelain necklaces. But yes, they said they used gouache, I think, paint.
Gouache.
And it really smudged once I put the protective glaze over the top. Thankfully, my favourite of all the necklaces was the one that came out the best, and I can still wear it. But most of them, unfortunately, were not successful. And I haven't picked up the polymer clay since then. I think regular acrylic paint actually works fine, so maybe I'll give it another go this year. So at the end of January, I started my next very big project, which was a tapestry wall hanging. So it's just over there above my PC monitor. I wanted something on the wall there to brighten up the room. And I think I'd seen someone use a curtain railing to hold up their tapestry. So it was sort of a case of go big or go home. I'd never done tapestry crochet or colour changing in crochet beyond 2 colours before, like in granny squares. So it was a trial and error process. I think I had to restart the first few rows a few times, but once I got the hang of it, yeah, it sort of became quite a straightforward process. It was more just time intensive. So I do have quite a lot of footage from the creation process of this one. I started by importing the reference image into the Stitch Fiddle website, which is free to use for the basic features. I have dabbled in pixel art before, so it was quite a straightforward process to adjust and clean up the image to my liking once it had produced a starting point. As you can see here, I added stickers with the stitch number onto my stitch markers just to help me keep track of where I was in the chart. So, the process is basically to do 1 stitch per pixel on the Stitch Fiddle chart. So you need to read across the rows alternating left to right, then right to left. If you were doing a pattern in the round, then you just keep going the same direction. When you're doing tapestry crochet, it's very important to make sure that the floats behind your work are loose enough so as not to distort or stretch the tapestry. Since I was planning to add a backing, these floats would eventually get hidden by the fabric anyway. This is Aurora. She loves to hang around while I'm crafting. Thankfully, she doesn't eat yarn, but she does chase it sometimes. I often have a smaller project on the go for when I get bored of doing the big one. So in this case, I made a small mohair ribbon. It's just a long rectangle of double crochet, so super simple. So like I said, this project took over a month. The rows with quite a lot of colour changes would sometimes take hours to complete. Thankfully, the end of the pattern worked up a lot faster as there was quite a lot of white space in the background. Take a look at all those floats, they look super satisfying, I think. So this is how it looked on the floor once the crocheting was finished. I couldn't film lifting it up with one hand, unfortunately, but the weight of the yarn meant it would be really stretched out and the image would be distorted if I just hung it as is. It was also looking more like a trapezoid than a rectangle, to be honest, so blocking was a must. I used my old yoga mat and luckily it was the perfect size. So far so good, but spoiler alert, I was about to run into a big issue. So my original plan was just to sew an interfaced fabric backing to the tapestry. I was familiar with iron-on interfacing as I got quite into sewing during COVID lockdowns. I didn't need to stitch the raw edges as they would be sewn inside the project. Unfortunately, you can see I had a big curling problem once it was all sewn together. Also, the center of the tapestry just kind of fell out because it wasn't stuck to the backing. I thought blocking with a load of books and weights might help. It didn't. So plan B was to also interface the tapestry. Unfortunately, the wool I was using was sold out in the bright white colour, so I ended up buying a wool acrylic blend for the vase part of the tapestry. This was fine until I applied a very hot iron to it. There was some singeing. Thankfully, I was able to remove it by dusting the area with scissors. I didn't get any footage as I was in full panic mode that I'd wasted possibly 100 hours of my life, so apologies. I then combined enough card pieces to cover the area and used tape to combine them. I followed that up with good old-fashioned Pritt stick to glue the interfacing to the cardboard. At this point, the tapestry finally had enough structure and I was able to re-sew the backing fabric on. I then just went round and round with a tapestry needle and some of the navy wool to attach the tapestry sandwich to the curtain pole. Now comes the DIY stage. I'm not super experienced with the drill, but I was able to follow the instructions. And good news, the railing hasn't fallen down yet. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's lasted well, no complaints. And to be honest, I'd really like to make another one, maybe two tapestries, one for the living room and another one for this room, but I am stuck thinking what else I would like to have immortalized in crochet. There's a lot of pictures out there and maybe I'd make something from scratch, maybe featuring my pets. I don't know, I'm still thinking. At the time, I remember being so exhausted from the repetitive nature of making the tapestry that I was thinking, it's gonna have to be at least another year till I'm up for doing it again. And yeah, that was definitely the case. I couldn't have gone and done another one straight away. So yes, that is the Van Gogh vase flowers tapestry. I think it's irises, yeah, irises. So that entered the whole of February. And in March, I decided to try to make a non-granny square hexagon cardigan, just like a regular crochet cardigan. And like, it looks cute. I like the drape. I think this does show that crochet garments can have drape, but there's a few problems with it. So I was following the tutorial and I didn't know much about gauge, and my gauge was way different. Phew. Oh, excuse me. Yes, so the squares were looking a lot smaller than the lady who did the tutorials example, and I did, I think, get sport weight or fingering weight, whatever was said in the tutorial. Like, this color way reminded me of the sea and the beach, which is really cute. But yeah, like I said, I had to kind of make up the pattern as I went along because my gauge was so off that I just couldn't really follow the tutorial. And again, I also wanted much bigger sleeves. And I also tried the scalloped edge, which I think worked at the bottom of the cardigan, so I'm just fumbling with this cardigan to try to find the pieces to show you. Yeah, the scalloping I think worked at the bottom, but when it comes to the sleeves, it's like really curled in on itself. And this is ignoring the biggest problem, which is I just left it in my dark wardrobe, and there's definitely some moths in there that have eaten a few holes. I can't find them right now, but it's really quite noticeable, and I don't think it's something I can fix, to be honest. So I'm gonna chalk this up as a lessons learnt situation. Quite a few lessons learnt, and I'm going big on moth protection for my knitted and crocheted wearables going forward. I've bought like an underbed storage, and I'm going to package everything individually with the like anti-moth tablets, so hopefully I won't have anything like that happen again. I would be really stressed if, for example, this is the first jumper I knitted, if that got a hole in, and I spent so many tens of hours knitting it that yeah, that would be a big disappointment if the moths went and ate it. Okay, April. So I can't show you these items because they were gifts. It might help if I clarify at this point that the project I was making were 2 plushies of the Sanrio characters, My Melody and Kuromi. It was my first time really doing amigurumi. I didn't know if I'd like it or not. I probably shouldn't have gone with blanket yarn right away because it's quite difficult to work with. It's quite messy, the like fluff bits fall off quite easily, and yeah, it's just also really hard to see what you're doing because everything's fluffy. I had to use a lot of stitch markers. It took quite a lot of trial and error to get to the correct hook size for the heads. You can see here that the 6.0 hook was too loose and ended up too wide, while the 4.5 hook was too tight and had more of a cone head shape. In the end, it turned out that the 5.5mm hook was the Goldilocks sized hook for this project. I did still have to stretch the crocheting a bit like a pizza dough as I went along because it was looking a bit more like an octagon than a circle. If any Amigurumi pros know a better way of doing this, let me know. So yes, in total I had to crochet the first doll's head 3 times. Thankfully, the 3rd time was the charm. I would say I did enjoy it once I'd figured out what crochet hook to use, because the pattern was designed for cotton, not blanket yarn, but I wanted to make these My Melody and Kuromi plushies for my nieces. Yeah, as they're really into Sanrio at the moment. I think a lot of youngsters are. So am I. Not a youngster anymore. Anyway, yes, I did enjoy the process once I got going, especially making the clothes. The pattern didn't include dresses, so I just kind of freehanded those, and I think they looked good. The only problem with the finished product is their heads are really floppy, and I learned that people who make amigurumi plushies, if it's a big plushie, like with a small neck join, they might get like a plastic piping or some kind of boning in there to stop the head wobbling everywhere. I also don't know if they've fully held up. I think I saw one of them was unraveling a little bit in the last photo I saw of these amigurumis, but it was a good process. I think I learned a lot. I hadn't really done 3D crochet stuff before, so it's a useful skill to have. I don't think I'll be working with blanket yarn again. I don't think if, yeah, basically I've used up what I have and I don't intend to buy more. I might try cotton amigurumi in the future. So yes, on to the leftover blanket yarn. I did have some, and I also was thinking about freehanding a cat bed. I think it looks a bit weird. The cat liked it for about a day and then hasn't sat on it ever again. So yeah, I'll show you. Again, like, I don't know, it's cute as a pillow maybe, but it's kind of too small. She doesn't like that the sides are kind of have gaps and stuff. It doesn't quite fit the cat bed on the windowsill like I wanted it to. So yeah, I'd say it's a cute pillow, but I still need to redesign some kind of bed situation or blanket that she might actually use, because that's the whole point of it, that she will sit in a nice sunny window and feel comfortable. So yeah, again, it was worth a shot. You never really know when you buy a cat something, will it like it? It's the same with cat toys. Yeah, you just can't predict if she'll enjoy it or not. So unfortunately, it wasn't in that case. I also did a couple of mushroom like fidget poppet thingamajigs just because I had the yarn and I think it's cute. I gave one of them to a friend's young child and yeah, he thought it was fun. I like fidgety stuff, but again, it's this blanket yarn. It's annoying in my opinion. So I do like how it looks like plushies though, and it's soft, but I just think I'll use cotton for amigurumi going forward. So June, I went on holiday to Cornwall, so I had quite a lot of time to do some crocheting. And what I did was a couple of hand towels, because our old one was like looking a bit shabby, and I think a handmade hand towel can like go with your color scheme for the bathroom, so that's cute. The problem with cotton yarn, I guess, is that it does tie my hands out more. Like I've always had, well, not always, but since being a teenager, like wrist problems if I play too many video games or do too much drawing or writing, or in this case crocheting. So yeah, when it comes to crocheting and knitting, actually, I just find wool more comfortable and less painful on the wrist. But sometimes you just like a wool, well, maybe it would work, but you're washing bathroom hand towels quite often and you want to wash them at a high heat. So I think cotton is the obvious choice. So I think it's good I've made them. Now I don't have to make any more, I guess. But they look cute. They could be more square, I guess. They could have been done with a bit of a looser tension or a wider hook. I think I followed a YouTube tutorial again for this, and I'd like to make more homeware, like pot holders, kitchen towels and stuff, but it is that wrist pain I want to avoid, so I've not gone back to cotton since, I don't think. So yeah, I go to a music festival every year in September, and there were quite a few things that I wanted to make this year. I usually like to sew or crochet or just make some kind of accessory. I've done a few different kinds over the years, like headdresses and that kind of stuff. So this year I made a bum bag, as we call it in the UK, or a fanny pack, I think you used to call it in America. And it was like a granny square one. I sewed the lining into it. I like the colours. It's like really comfortable. I don't remember where I got the yarn. Maybe in the yarn shop in Bath, but it's pretty cute. I think I'll use it for future festivals as well. The other festival things that I made were some bucket hats for me and my friend. More on that later. I also did a headband that didn't quite work out. Like, it looks really cute not on my head, but when I tried it on, it wasn't quite the right length, I think. So maybe I'll be able to modify it and get some use out of it. But at the moment, yeah, not so much. So I think some of those objects crossed into July. The bucket hats, I think, was a Cascade 220 yarn, and I had again some problem with the tension and gauge. The first hat I knit was way too big, so I had to keep sizing down till it sort of was the correct tension. And moving into August, we decided to redecorate the spare bedroom. It was looking a bit worse for wear, so we went with a sort of terracotta red pink theme, and I wanted some red accents, and finding the exact pillow size you need to be like a headboard replacement is difficult, so I decided to just sew my own. I think I got a meter of fabric, just cut it in half, and it fits perfectly, and I think they're really cute. They don't have a filler pillow. Again, getting the right side, it would have just been expensive and too much hassle. So I just filled it with the leftover stuffing that I had from the Amigurumi Kuromi and my Melody, which I had a lot of. There was a deceptively large amount of stuffing in a bag that arrived that I ordered off Amazon for those dolls. So yeah, I needed to make use of it somehow. The pillows work well. I think it was my only real sewing project for the year. I should make more things, but I really need to get my sewing machine serviced. It just keeps jamming at the moment. So that is something I should really do this year. Again, back to the bucket hats I mentioned. If you're American, you might be confused what a Colin the Caterpillar is. It's kind of a famous British cake, like at birthdays for kids. And he's kind of, well, maybe a cultural icon's a bit of a stretch, but he's quite popular from like a grocery store. He's originally a birthday cake. There was a big like scandal in the news of the other grocery stores, supermarkets doing dupes of Colin the Caterpillar. Yeah, it was an interesting time in the British news. But yeah, they were doing backpacks last year filled with like Colin the Caterpillar sweets and things. I couldn't resist buying it for the festival. It's like the perfect size just to fit in your snacks and hip flask and stuff. So once I got him, I couldn't stop thinking about him having a matching bucket hat. And so yeah, it didn't take long, and I had a lot of spare yarn, so I made him a matching bucket hat. Yes, what else did I do? Some boleros. So for my festival outfits, it's always pretty chilly in the UK, obviously, especially in the evenings at a festival, even though it's the middle of summer. Well, the end of summer. But so I wanted to make some of those boleros. They're really soft, and I think they are cute. They match my outfit. This one was made with the Valley yarns, mostly. Some ribbons and things like that. And then I did a black one that I think was made with the Drops Merino and the Drops Alpaca, not mohair, but like the replacement, the Drops Alpaca. Can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure you know if you're into your yarns. And I also sewed like a frilly trim. I made this cute bow, as in just tied a couple of ribbons I had spare. I love keeping ribbons that I get from like gifts and stuff like that and repurpose them. So yeah, they are nice. I don't know if I'd wear them that much on a day-to-day basis, but for festivals, I'll probably get some more use out of them. And yeah, they were pretty quick to make as well. That's the benefits of crochet. In September, I went on holiday with my husband to Germany and Amsterdam to visit my brother, and I bought some yarn there and made a couple of things. The first thing I made was like a balaclava hood, and I really liked the colours, but I've since frogged the yarn because the final hood just turned out way too big. Again, I guess gauge swatching must be a thing for crochet, but it's never something I've done, or maybe it's not on patterns, I don't know. But yeah, it was just too big. It looked weird, so I frogged it. But the other thing I made on holiday is probably my favourite crochet wearable. Yeah, I need to remember what this yarn was, but it almost looks like fleecy, which I really like. And then the main center of the flower is more of like a multicolored yarn. They were both woolen yarns, and I just kind of freehanded this. I didn't use a pattern. I think I'd seen a photo. You can see here it's sort of a panel of 9 granny squares that I then just single crocheted together, and I made this little frilly loop bit. But yeah, I wear it quite a lot actually. Good to wear, you know, with dresses in the autumn. So yeah, I would actually quite like to make a few more of these in different colors. I have to think about what colors I could do, but yeah, I would make more of these. So this is my biggest crochet win in terms of wearables. So October, the other really big project I did this year was, it was actually the thing that made me want to learn crochet when I saw a picture of it, probably on Instagram or something like that. It is this blanket that I can't remember the name of. I think it's Janie Crow does the tutorials and everything for it, and it was a free pattern, and there's like step-by-step videos, which is really useful. I really like the colors, and yeah, it's just a really pretty blanket. It took a long time and a lot of effort, but I learned a load of different techniques, and actually I think making a mini one, like for my cat's bed, could be really cute. Again, I don't know if she'll like it or not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of effort, but to be honest, I think I would make some of her other designs. They're just really stunning and beautiful and special, and I just think it shows how good crochet could be if, yeah, once you level up your skills enough to make something as complicated as this blanket. So yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I have it on this chair for most of the time. Obviously, if it gets cold, I can wear it. It was also October that I started to learn to knit, which I really enjoyed, and I've been doing loads of since. The first thing I knit was obviously just like a practice bit of knitting with the pearls and knit stitches for some stockinette and garter stitch. It took me a long time to learn to get tension right. I started with the continental method, and I just couldn't get my tension at all even. It looked really bad. So I am sticking to the English style, and since then, yeah, I've made quite a few things. The first thing I made was a knit scarf, and it was made with Langyarn's Cloud in this really cute colour that has not speckles, but, well, kind of tweedy patterns on it. It's really cute. Unfortunately, this was kind of my fault. We were playing at the park with my dog, and he decided to play tug with my scarf because I did make it quite long, and it got quite a big hole in, and it wasn't repairable. So in terms of the next thing I made, I did a snood, which is really useful to learn knitting in the round, and it's a waffle stitch. I signed up for like that Craftsy free trial, and this was one of the tutorials on there. I think it's a Malabrigo yarn. I remember it's called like River Pebbles, something like that. It's nice. It's warm. It grew quite a lot again because it's a superwash wool. But yeah, I like it. It knit up quickly, so it's a good beginner project. The other tutorial I did from Craftsy was fingerless mittens. In my mind, this was going to look like sort of medieval gauntlets, but it just kind of looks like fingerless gloves. They are surprisingly warm, and again, I learnt a lot of things by making this, like sewing the pieces together and how to alternate the purl and knit stitches and the garter stitch and stockinette. So yes, it was a good project to do. So that was in November, and the next step on my knitting journey was to make mittens, and I used a vanilla mitten pattern and some like very rustic wool color. The tutorial, it took me quite a long time, but it was like really useful to follow things step by step, to learn how to put things on hold, the stitches on hold, to pick up stitches, to do decreasing and increasing. So I think mittens are a really good place to start if you're interested in going on to socks. Like, I see a lot of similarities in making mittens and socks. So yeah, I think I chose like a good project order to get into knitting and develop my skills. So yeah, if you're also interested in learning to knit as a crocheter, think about doing like a scarf, then a snood, then fingerless gloves, then mittens, and then you can make socks and jumpers. So as it was also approaching December, a lot of my friends' birthdays are in December, and in addition to their usual gifts, I wanted to make them each a Christmas ornament. So I did this cute knitted pretzel, which was again useful to practice knitting in the round and decreasing. And I also made this large pom-pom, which is of their dog. It is a Samoyed, which was a really fun project. I hadn't made pom-poms before with a pom-pom maker. And yeah, I used some felt for his mouth. Yeah, and I think that worked out well. And then I crocheted freehand this. He's a Whippet, my other friend who has the other dog. And yeah, I had to make his snoot comically large as it is in real life. So yeah, I think they look really cute, and it's always nice to do some gift makes for people. So finally, that brings me on to December, which is when I knit my first pair of socks. Well, my first and currently only pair of socks, but there's quite a few I want to make this year. But yeah, I used I think it was West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, and it came out really cute and no big mistakes. They look fairly equal. I think the one thing I learnt was about doing the first cast on. Like this one I did too tight. It can still get on my foot and they fit really well. But the second one I just did a looser cast on, so it is easier to get the second sock on. But I've washed them in the machine. It's been fine, and I really like the sparkle in the yarn. It's cute. And I had quite a lot of the yarn left over from the ball, so I made a little Christmas ornament as well with the petite knit Christmas candy pattern. So yeah, that was an enjoyable Christmas of knitting. I also then cast on this jumper, but I didn't finish it till this month. So this was not a 2024 make, but if you're curious, it was a step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller, I think that's her name is. She's a YouTuber, and it was a really good tutorial, really useful. And then I made this letter K in stitch fiddle to look kind of like a medieval print, was my thinking. Yeah, so I made quite a lot this year, I think. And I'm hoping to continue that into 2025. I've got quite a lot of goals in terms of crafting and hobbies for the year. And definitely I'm really getting into my knitting, and there's a lot of jumpers and cardigans I want to make, especially for my holiday to Japan. So yeah, stay tuned for my next video, which will probably be something I want to make in 2025. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting, and maybe you've had some inspiration on something you want to make. Let me know what your favorite thing that I've made this year is, and what's the favorite thing that you've made as well. Yeah, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.